Hey there, TikTok family and friends. I'm cleaning the house today, so I'm not going to look the greatest, but I don't care because this video I'm about to make is one of a serious nature, and it's not about really how I look or even how I feel, but how a lot of parents who have children on the autism spectrum, a lot of these kids have other things that are going on with them besides autism. I've often thought that when you are nonverbal and you have some physical abnormalities, I guess you'd call them, of course you're going to run around and scream and flap and maybe throw yourself on the floor and it looks like a tantrum, but God, I mean, come on. If we didn't have speech for a whole day, just imagine what that would be like. I'd probably be banging my head against the wall. Which brings me to this little bit of a speech here. When my son had his seizure the last time and had to be taken to the hospital, we called the paramedics to transport him because he's 33 years old now. He's big, and we didn't know if he was going to have another seizure in the car. So anyway, we had him transported, which was fine. They didn't mind. They're right around the corner. We know them almost on a personal level right now, but they're very nice individuals. So we get to the hospital, and they admitted him this last time for 10 days actually, because he has dystonia, which is a muscle condition that's really painful, and it really drives him to act out, and whatever's around him, he gets agitated. And so anyway, we're in our room and he begins to get agitated because it's taking 3 hours to get a medication from the pharmacy, which is 2 floors down, up to our floor. I said that I would be the runner. I would go down and pick it up and bring it up to the floor if they needed, but no, they're not allowed to do that. Of course, I didn't think they would. But at any rate, my son had just about had it, and he began to act out, and he was hitting the thing on his bed that makes a ringing sound whenever he gets out of bed, or if he even moves abruptly in the bed. It's to alert the nurses that the patient has gotten up. But I was sitting the whole time. I was allowed to stay there with him, so I was sitting bedside, but they still wouldn't turn the alarm off. So at any rate, it startled him this one particular time, and about 4 nurses rushed to his room outside the door, and one started to glove up, and she was going to go in the room. And I stopped them all at the door, and I said, "You don't understand. You cannot go running in there and try to apprehend him like he's a bank robber or something, ready to break into the vault with explosives." I said, "You guys, you have to have a better plan in action. If there's a doctor at the front desk, or if there's a nursing supervisor, and you could get something in him quick in the form of an IM shot, intramuscular, something that will be fast acting." I've seen them do it before. They've given him Haldol IM, and that works really quick on him, calms him right down. But of course, a couple of them wanted to play hero, and they wanted to rush in there and try to, I use the word apprehend because that's what it looked like. So when I stopped them, the one nurse that was taking care of him that day started to get really nasty with me, and she said, "You're not the same as when you came in here." And I said, "Well, no, because I don't want to see any of you get hurt." So another nurse piped up and said, "Oh, we're trained for that." And I said, "No, you're not going to be trained to rush in there and rush my son and grab him and pin him down. And I know you're going to get hurt. Someone's either going to get bit or punched or slapped, and I'm not having that go down, not only on his record, but I don't want to see any of you get hurt. Trust me, you're going to go into a lion's den." So she began to reprimand me as if she was my child, to which I said, "I don't know why you're trying to be a martyr." And then she accused me of name calling, and I said to her, "Listen, in the Catholic religion, a martyr is a good thing. If I called you Pontius Pilate, that would be a bad thing. But I thought, you know what, Lynn, you're taking it too far, so just shut up. So she left. She said she took herself off the case, but then 5 minutes later she came back in. I don't know if her supervisor told her to, or she figured she wanted to stay close to Jimmy and make sure, he was getting the best possible care. But anyway, they wound up calling security up there, and I don't know if they were called in for me or for Jimmy, but the security fella, I'm sure he was very strong, but he stood about, I'm 5'3", he stood about 4'11", and I said, is that the best that they can do, is just send you up here alone? I said, I'm sure you're a very strong fella, but I fear for you too. You'd probably need some backup if you're going to go in there. So I guess they all thought I was being a smartass, but correct me if I'm wrong. If we have our children in a predicament where we know that they are going to explode into space over what's happening to them and they can't express it, but my philosophy has always been communication. The best way to tell it is behavior is the best form of communicating with someone like Jimmy. Anyway, I speak only for him, but I just wanted to know, parents of kids that are on the spectrum of autism or have other neurological disabilities, I guess you would call it, have problems where you have them in a medical situation and the first thing they want to do is rush in instead of using a medication that I was giving permission. If you have something that works, quick, give it to them. It's better than running in there and roughing them up. They wound up posing him to the bed, which I said, fine. I really said, go ahead. If it's as long as it's a soft posy, I don't want you restraining him hard and hurting him. So it was a loose restraint, but he just couldn't get at them. But by that time he had calmed down because I was able to talk to him and tell him that his medication was on its way after 3 hours. Of which I was reading to him, singing to him, praying with him. I mean, I was trying my best. But, sometimes our best isn't good enough. And I love the medical profession. My husband is a nurse, believe it or not. And he actually used to work at this specific hospital, which I won't give the name of. But that didn't even matter. It just doesn't matter. And the professionals really need to understand that, yes, they might have all the training in the world, but you don't want to walk into something like that because you have the training. You don't want to put yourself at risk. You really don't. You might look like you're doing the right thing at the time, but for everybody involved, even for Jimmy, even for the patient, it's the wrong thing. Correct me if I'm wrong and put down your experiences with things that have similarly happened to you with your loved ones in a situation like I was in with Jimmy. Have a good day, and I'm so sorry this was so long, but it's been about 2 weeks, 3 weeks since he was in the hospital, and it still just sits so heavy on my mind and my heart for everyone that was involved. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.